ईतो नरसिंहा पर तो नरसिंहा पर तो नरसिंहा यतो यतो यामि ततो नरसिंहा बहे नरसिंहा हृदये नरसिंहा नरसिंहमदिं शरणं प्रपदे नरसिंहमदिं शरणं प्रपदे तव करकमलवरेण कामद्भुतशृङ्गा दालिता हिरण्यकशिपो केशवद्रीता नरहरिरूपा जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे तव करकमलवरेण कामद्भुतशृङ्गा हिरण्यकशिपो तनुभृङ्गा केशवद्रीता नरहरिरूपा जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे तव करकमलवरेण कामद्भुतशृङ्गा दालिता हिरण्यकशिपो तनुभृङ्गा केशवद्रीता नरहरिरूपा जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar, Shri Vasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda, Mahaprasadi Govinde Nama Bhavani Vaishnavi, Swabhab Kunya, Ritanve, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Tonight we're going to hear from the teachings of Lord Chaitanya. This is a wonderful book. If you don't have it, you should definitely get it. It has so much wonderful nectarian information in here about Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So tonight we're hearing the following. As long as one is within the limited jurisdiction of fruitive activities or is involved in mental speculation, such a person may perhaps be eligible to study or teach the theoretical knowledge of the Vedanta Sutra, but he cannot understand the supreme, eternal, transcendental, completely liberated vibration of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. One who has achieved perfection in chanting this transcendental vibration does not have to separately learn the philosophy of the Vedanta Sutra. According to the teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the bona fide spiritual master, those who do not understand that this transcendental vibration of the Hare Krishna mantra is non-different from the Supreme Lord, yet who try to become Mayavadi philosophers, expert in the Vedanta Sutra, are all fools. Studying the Vedanta Sutra by one's own efforts, the ascending process of knowledge, is a sign of foolishness. On the other hand, According to the teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the bona fide spiritual master, those who do not understand that this transcendental vibration is non-different from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, yet who try to become Mayavadi philosophers, expert in the Vedanta Sutra, are all fools. Studying the Vedic sutras by one's own efforts, the ascending process of knowledge, is a sign of foolishness. On the other hand, he who has attained a taste for chanting this transcendental vibration of the Hare Krishna mantra has actually reached the conclusion of the Vedanta. In this connection, there are two verses in Srimad Bhagavatam which are very instructive. Haribol Prabhu, why don't you go up there and turn that off? Huh? What? He said he's coming. Turn that off, you can go up there. To go there, you can turn it off. Okay. In this verse, in this connection, there are two verses in Srimad Bhagavatam which are very instructive. The purport of the first is that if a person is chanting the transcendental vibration, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, then even if he was born in the family of the lowest of human beings, It is to be understood that in his previous lives he performed all types of renunciation, austerities, and sacrifice, and studied all the Brahma Sutras. The purport of the second verse is that one who chants the two syllables Hari must be considered to have studied all the Vedas, the Rig Veda, the Atharva Veda, the Yajur Veda, and the Samaveda. On the other hand, there are many so-called devotees who think the Vedanta is not meant for devotees. Such people are ignorant of the fact that the Vedanta is the only platform of pure devotees. The great acharyas of all four Vaishnava sampradayas have made commentaries on the Vedanta Sutra, but the so-called devotees known as the Prakrita Sahajas carefully avoid the study of the Vedanta Sutra. The Prakrita Sahajas mistakenly take the pure devotees and Vaishnava acharyas to be mental speculators or fruitive actors. Consequently, they themselves become Mayavadis and leave the service of the Supreme Lord. So it's very important to be engaged in the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. That opens the door to understanding who we are, what we're meant to do in this lifetime, and we become engaged in the devotional service of the Lord very seriously. In that way, we make tangible spiritual advancement. However, we can make even better devotional advancement by having a bona fide devotee helping us to understand how to be Krishna conscious. So that's the best way to make spiritual advancement, to follow the instructions of one or two or three genuine devotees who are exemplary devotees and who know the Vedas and the Bhagavad Gita especially very well and can answer your questions. So it continues. The purport of, so it says, the purport of, there are many so-called devotees who think the Vedanta is not meant for devotees. Such people are ignorant of the fact that the Vedanta is the only platform for pure devotees. The great acharyas of all four Vaishnava sampradayas have made commentaries on the Vedanta Sutra, but the so-called devotees known as Prakrita Sahajas carefully avoid the study of the Vedanta Sutra. The Prakrita Sahajas mistakenly take the pure devotees and Vaishnava acharyas to be mental speculators or fruitive actors. Consequently, they themselves become Mayavadis. Mayavadi means they're worshiping something that is illusory and leave the service of the Supreme Lord. Understanding the Vedanta Sutra by academic knowledge never enables one to understand the value of the transcendental vibration, meaning the transcendental vibration of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Understanding the Vedanta Sutra by academic knowledge never enables one to understand the value of the transcendental vibration of the holy names of the Lord. People who are engaged in academic knowledge are conditioned souls who are confused about the facts of I and mine. Understanding Consequently, they are unable to detach their minds from the external energy. When a person actually attains transcendental knowledge, he becomes free from this duality of I and mine and engages in the transcendental loving service of the Supreme Lord. So, this I and my idea is everything belongs to me, and I am the most important person in the world. So, that puts you in the wrong position to make spiritual advancement. You will advance, but you'll advance in the process of illusion, and and you become more and more illusioned as time goes by. On the other hand, there are many so-called devotees who think the Vedanta is not meant for the devotees. Such people are ignorant of the fact that the Vedanta is the only platform of pure devotees. The great acharyas of the four Vaishnava Sampradayas have made commentaries on the Vedanta Sutra, but the so-called devotees known as Prakrita Sahajas carefully avoid the study of the Vedanta Sutra. The Prakrita Sahajas mistakenly take the pure devotees and Vaishnava acharyas to be mental speculators or fruitive actors. Consequently, they themselves become Mayavadis. Mayavadi means they become foolish people who worship something that is uh, that it leads you to a dead end. That's what it means, Mayavadi. And such Mayavadis will eventually leave the service of the Supreme Lord. Understanding the Vedanta Sutra by academic knowledge never enables one to understand the value of the transcendental vibration of the holy names of the Lord. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. People who are entangled in academic knowledge are conditioned souls who are confused about the fact of I and mine. Understanding. Consequently, they are unable to detach their minds from the external energy. When a person actually attains transcendental knowledge, he becomes free from this duality of I and mine. Why? Because he understands that everything belongs to Krishna, and I also belong to Krishna. So therefore, I should remain a uh, a servant of the Lord. I do not become equal or greater than the Lord. Then this false idea of I and mine goes away, and one surrenders completely to Lord Krishna by engaging in his service, understanding that he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and I am simply the servant of the Lord. That is the real identification of a Vaishnava. When a person actually attains transcendental knowledge, he becomes free from this duality of I and mine and engages in the transcendental loving service of the Supreme Lord. The Lord's service is the only means by which one can become detached from material activities. A person properly initiated by a bona fide spiritual master and engaged in chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, gradually becomes freed from the conception of I and mine and becomes attached to the Lord's transcendental loving service in one of the five transcendental relationships. Such transcendental service is not a subject matter for gross and subtle bodies. Only when one can understand that there is no difference between the Supreme Lord and his name can one be situated in Krishna consciousness. As such, a time one no longer needs, as such a time, one no longer needs to make grammatical adjustments. Rather, one becomes more interested in petitioning the Lord. Hare Krishna, O my Lord Krishna, O energy of the Lord, please engage me in your service. Lord Chaitanya explained all this to Prakasananda Saraswati and told him that he had heard all this from his spiritual master. He further informed Prakasananda Saraswati that his spiritual master had taught him that Srimad Bhagavatam is the actual commentary on the Vedanta Sutra, as stated in Srimad Bhagavatam by Vyasadeva, the author of the Vedanta Sutra. A student's perfection is to understand the identity of the holy name and the Supreme Lord. So that's a very important statement. Let me read that again. A student's perfection is to understand the identity of the holy name. That means Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, and the Supreme Lord. Unless one is under the shelter of a realized spiritual master, his understanding of the Supreme Lord is simply foolish. However, one can fully understand the Transcendental Lord by service and devotion. When Lord Chaitanya offenselessly chanted the Hare Krishna mantra, he declared that the mantra could at once deliver a contaminated soul from the material contamination. In this age of Kali, there is no alternative to chanting the Mahamantra. In other words, you can chant as many other mantras that you want. You will not get the results as when you chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, because this Hare Krishna Mahamantra is the mantra for this Yuga Dharma, the present time that we're living now. And it is perfectly given to us from the spiritual world. It is not a mantra made up in the material world. It has come down from the spiritual world, and it can liberate anyone who chants the mantra sincerely. When Lord Chaitanya offenselessly chanted the Hare Krishna mantra, he declared that the mantra could at once deliver a conditioned soul from material contamination. In this age of Kali Yuga, there is no alternative to chanting this Maha Mantra. In other words, all the other mantras are not even close to the Maha Mantra that is recommended by Lord Chaitanya. It is stated that the essence of all Vedic literature is the chanting of this holy name of Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Lord Chaitanya also told Prakasananda Saraswati, in order to convince me about this essential fact of Vedic knowledge, my spiritual master has taught me a verse from the Brahma Naradina Purana. Harir Nama, Harir Nameva Kevalam, Kalo Nasteva, Gatiranyata. In this age of quarrel and hypocrisy, the only means of deliverance is the chanting of the holy name of the Lord. There is no other way. There is no other way. There is no other way. So now we have heard these two very important mantras. One is that we should always chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, and that we should never chant other mantras. They will only take us away from Krishna rather than bring us closer to Krishna. And okay, so then it says also Hare Nama Eva Kevalam Kalona Steva Gatiranyata. In this age of quarrel and hypocrisy, the only means of deliverance is the chanting of the holy name of the Lord. There is no other way, there is no other way, there is no other way. So, if we simply chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, all our desires will be fulfilled. Of course, they have to be desires for making spiritual advancement, not mundane desires for sense gratification. In 3 out of the 4 millenniums, namely Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, and Dwapara Yuga, people had the honor to strive to understand transcendence through the path of disciplic succession. But in the present age, due to the influence of Kali Yuga, people have no interest in the disciplic succession. Instead, they have invented many paths of logic and argument. This individual attempt to understand the supreme transcendence called the ascending process is not the Vedic way. The absolute truth must descend from the absolute platform. He is not to be understood by the ascending process. The holy name of the Lord, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, is a transcendental vibration because it comes from the transcendental platform, the supreme abode of Krishna. In other words, it comes from the spiritual world. It's not a mantra that was made in the material world. And because there is no difference between Krishna and his name, the holy name of Krishna is as pure, perfect, and liberated as Krishna himself. Academic scholars relying on logic and argument have no entrance into the understanding of the transcendental nature of the holy name of God. The single path for understanding the transcendental nature of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, is the chanting of these names with faith and adherence. Such chanting will release one from designated conditions. That means false identifications. I'm born in this family, and I have a different guru, and this and that. So those are designations. But when one comes to the position to give up those type of designations and understand that I'm the eternal servant of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, then they become what you would call liberated, because they are chanting the holy names correctly. Such chanting will release one from designated conditions arising from the gross and subtle bodies. In this age of logical argument and disagreement, the chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra is the only means for self-realization. And because this transcendental vibration alone can deliver the conditioned soul, it is the essence of the Vedanta Sutra. In other words, you don't have to read the Vedanta Sutra. You just chant. Excuse me, the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. According to the material conception, there is a difference between a person himself and his name, form, qualities, emotions, and activities. But as far as this transcendental vibration is concerned, meaning the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, there is no such limitation, for it descends from the spiritual world. So this is the main point that's being made here. That the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra was not a mantra made in the material world by mundane people. It has come down from the spiritual world. Therefore, no other mantra is equal to it. And also, uh, one must uh, chant the mantra with love and devotion for Krishna. Such chanting will release one from designated conditions arising from the gross and subtle bodies. So if we chant with love and devotion the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, we become liberated from all false identifications, like I belong to this family, or I belong to uh, uh, this type of people, or I belong to a certain type of chanting. No, I simply belong to Krishna, and I chant only Krishna's mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Such chanting will release one from designated conditions arising from the gross and subtle bodies. Yeah, designated conditions means I was born in this way and I was taught in this other way, and I don't need to know anything about the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. I already have my mantra, I already have my guru, I already have my this and that. No. Uh, Such chanting will release one from designated conditions arising from the gross and subtle bodies. In this age of logical argument and disagreement, the chanting of Hare Krishna is the only means for self realization. And because this transcendental vibration alone can deliver the conditioned soul, it is the essence of the Vedic Sutra. I'm sorry, the essence of the Vedanta Sutra. According, well, in other words, see, now the Vedanta Sutra is a big book, but we don't have to read the Vedanta Sutra. It's not necessary if we are completely engaged in chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, which is the summum bonum of spiritual knowledge. You don't need anything else. And it's much easier simply to chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. In this age of logical argument and disagreement, the chanting of Hare Krishna is the only means for self-realization. And because this transcendental vibration alone can deliver the conditioned soul, it is the essence of the Vedanta Sutra. That's why you don't have to chant the Vedanta Sutra. You just chant Hare Krishna. According to the material conception, there is a difference between a person himself and his name, form, qualities, emotions, and activities. But as far as this transcendental vibration, meaning the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, is concerned, there's no such limitation, for it descends from the spiritual world. So now we have two things. One is the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, which has descended from the spiritual world, and the other thing is the anyway. The other thing is that you don't really have to chant any other mantra than the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, because it has descended from the spiritual world. In this age of logical argument and disagreement, the chanting of Hare Krishna is the only means for self-realization. And because this transcendental vibration alone can deliver the conditioned soul, it is the essence of the Vedanta Sutra. According to the material conception, there is a difference between a person himself and his name, form, qualities, emotions, and activities. But as far as this transcendental vibration, meaning Hare Krishna mantra, is concerned, there is no such limitation, for it descends from the spiritual world. And in the spiritual world, unlike the material world, there is no difference between a person and his name and qualities. Because the Mayavadi philosophers cannot understand this, they cannot utter the transcendental vibration. They don't chant Hare Krishna. Lord Chaitanya then told Prakasananda Saraswati that because he received the order from his spiritual master, he was constantly chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. As a result of this chanting, the Lord said, I sometimes become very impatient and cannot restrain myself from dancing and laughing or crying and singing. Indeed, I become just like a madman. When I first wondered whether I had become mad by chanting this Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, I had be, when I first wondered whether I had become mad by chanting this Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, I approached my spiritual master and informed him that I had gone mad by chanting Hare Krishna. Thus I asked him what was my actual position. In the Narada Pancharatra, it is stated, all Vedic rituals, mantras, and understanding are compressed into the 8 words, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Similarly, in the Kali Santaranya Upanishad, it is said, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Iti so dasakam nam Kali Kalmasa Nasanam Nata Parantaropaya Sarva Vedesu Drishyate. The 16 words, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, are especially meant for counteracting the contamination of Kali Yuga. To save oneself from the contamination of Kali Yuga, there is no alternative to the chanting of these 16 words, meaning chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Lord Chaitanya informed Prakasananda Saraswati that when his spiritual master understood him, he said, it is the transcendental nature of the holy names of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, to transport a man into the spiritual madness. Anyone who sincerely chants this holy name is quickly elevated to the platform of love of God and becomes mad for God. This madness arising from love of God is the highest perfectional stage for a human being. Generally, a human being is interested in religion, economic development, sense gratification, and liberation. But love of God is above all these. A bona fide spiritual master chants the holy names, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, and the transcendental sound vibrations enters the ear of the disciple. And if the disciple follows in the footsteps of his spiritual master and chants the holy name with equal respect, this chanting constitutes worship of the transcendental name. When the transcendental name is worshipped by the devotee, the name himself spreads his glories within the heart of the devotee. When the devotee is perfectly qualified in chanting the transcendental vibration of the holy name, he is quite fit to become a spiritual master and to deliver all the people of the world. The chanting of the holy name is so powerful that it gradually establishes its supremacy above everything in the world. The devotee who chants it becomes transcendently situated in ecstasy and sometimes laughs, cries, and dances in his ecstasy. Sometimes the unintelligent put hindrances in the path of the chanting of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, but one who is situated on the platform of love of Godhead continues to chant the holy name loudly for the benefit of all concerned. As a result, everyone becomes initiated into the chanting of the holy names. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. By chanting and hearing the holy names of Krishna, a person can remember the forms and qualities of Krishna. Chapter 19 further talks with Prakasananda Saraswati. Bhava is the transcendental ecstatic attachment for Krishna, which results from perfectly understanding that the person Krishna and the name Krishna are identical. One who has attained bhava is certainly not contaminated by material nature. He enjoys transcendental pleasure from bhava, and when bhava is intensified, it is called love of Godhead. Lord Chaitanya told Prakasananda Saraswati that the holy name of Krishna, the Mahamantra, or the great chant, enables anyone who chants it to attain the stage of love of Godhead or intensified bhava. Love of Godhead is the ultimate human necessity, for when one compares it with other necessities, namely religion, economic development, sense gratification, and liberation, excuse me, one can see that these others are most insignificant. When one is absorbed in temporary, conditioned existence, he hankers after sense gratification and liberation. But love of Godhead is the eternal nature of the soul. It is unchangeable, without beginning or end. Therefore, neither temporary sense gratification nor liberation can compare with the transcendental nature of love of God. Love of God is the fifth and ultimate goal of human life. Excuse me. Compared with the ocean of the transcendental pleasure that is love of God, the conception of impersonal Brahman is no more significant than a drop of water. Lord Chaitanya next explained that his spiritual master had confirmed the validity of the ecstasy he had felt from chanting the holy name of God. And he had also confirmed that the essence of all Vedic literature is the attainment of love of Godhead. Lord Chaitanya's spiritual master had said that the Lord was fortunate to have attained love of Godhead. The heart of one who attains such transcendental love of Godhead. The Lord Chaitanya, spiritual master, had said that the Lord was fortunate to have attained love of Godhead. The heart of one who attains such transcendental love becomes very anxious to attain direct contact with the Lord. Excuse me. Feeling such transcendental sentiment, one sometimes laughs, sometimes cries, sometimes sings, sometimes dances like a madman, and sometimes runs hither and thither. In this way, there are various ecstatic symptoms manifest: crying, changing bodily color, madness, bereavement, silence, pride, ecstasy, and, excuse me, gentleness. Often, the person who has attained love of God dances, and such dancing places him in the ocean of the nectar of love of God, or Krishna. Lord Chaitanya said that his spiritual master told him, "It is very good that you have attained such a perfectional stage of love of Godhead. Because of your attainment, I am very much obliged to you." Sorry. Often the person who has attained love of God dances, and such dancing places him in the ocean of the nectar of love of Krishna. Lord Chaitanya said that his spiritual master told him, "It is very good that you have attained such a perfectional stage of love of God. Because of your attainment, I am very much obliged to you." The father becomes enlivened when he sees his son advance beyond himself. Similarly, the spiritual master takes more pleasure in seeing his disciple advance than in advancing himself. Sorry. Similarly, the spiritual master takes more pleasure in seeing his disciple advance than in advancing himself. Thus, Lord Chaitanya's spiritual master blessed him, telling him, "Dance, sing, propagate this Sankirtan movement, and by instructing people about Krishna, try to deliver them from nescience or ignorance." Lord Chaitanya's spiritual master also taught him the following very nice verse from the Srimad Bhagavatam 11.2.40. A person who constantly engages in devotional service to Krishna by chanting his holy name becomes so transcendently attached to the chanting that his heart becomes softened without extraneous endeavor. When this happens, he exhibits transcendental ecstasies by sometimes laughing, sometimes crying, sometimes singing, and sometimes dancing. Not exactly in an artistic way, but just like a madman. Lord Chaitanya further informed Prakasananda Saraswati, "Because I have full faith in my spiritual master's words, I always engage in chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. I do not know how I have become just like a madman, but I believe the name of Krishna has induced me. I have realized that the transcendental pleasure derived from chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, is just like an ocean in comparison to which all other pleasures, including the pleasure of impersonal realization, are like the shallow water in canals." It appears from the talks of Lord Chaitanya that a person who cannot keep his faith in the words of the spiritual master and who acts independently cannot attain the desired success in chanting Hare Krishna. In the Vedic literature, it is stated that the import of all transcendental literature is revealed to one who has unflinching faith in the Supreme Lord and his spiritual master. Lord Chaitanya firmly believed in the statements of his spiritual master, and he never neglected the instructions of his spiritual master by stopping his Sankirtan movement. Thus, the transcendental potency of the holy name encouraged him more and more in chanting Hare Krishna, the Maha Mantra. Lord Chaitanya next informed Prakasananda that in the modern age, people in general are more or less bereft of spiritual intellect. When such people come under the influence of Sukracharya's Mayavada impersonalist philosophy, before beginning the most confidential Vedanta Sutra, their natural tendency toward obedience to the Supreme Lord is checked, meaning it's not very strong. The supreme source of everything is naturally respected by everyone, but this natural tendency is hampered when one takes to the impersonalist conception of Sankara. Thus, the spiritual master of Lord Chaitanya suggested that it is better not to study the Sarirak Bhasya of Sankaracharya, for it is very harmful to people in general. Indeed, the common man does not even have the intelligence to penetrate into the jugglery of the words. Mahapurana. I'm sorry, wait a minute. Where was that? What page am I on? 218? Yeah. Yeah, I'm sorry. He is better advised to chant the Mahamantra Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. In this quarrelsome age of Kali, there is no alternative for self-realization. After hearing the arguments and talks of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, all the Mayavadi sannyasis who were present became pacified and replied with sweet words. Dear sir, what you have spoken is all true. A person who attains love for Godhead is certainly very fortunate, and undoubtedly you are very fortunate to have attained this stage. But what is the fault in the Vedanta? It is the duty of a sannyasi to read and understand the Vedanta. Why do you not study it? According to Mayavadi philosophers, the Vedanta refers to the Sarirak commentary of Sankaracharya. When impersonalist philosophers refer to the Vedanta and the Upanishads, they are actually referring to these works as understood through excuse me, the commentaries of Sankaracharya, the greatest teacher of the Mayavadi philosophy. After Sankaracharya come Sadananda Yogendra, who claimed that the Vedanta and Upanishads should be understood through the commentaries of Sankaracharya. Factually, this is not so. There are many commentaries on the Vedanta and the Upanishads made by Vaishnava acharyas, and these are preferred to those of Sankaracharya. But the Mayavadi philosophers, influenced by Sankaracharya, do not attribute any importance to the Vaishnava understanding. There are four different sects of Vaishnava acharyas, and each follows a different variation of personalism. Sudadvaita, Vasista Advaita, and Dvaita Advaita, and Achintya Beda Beda. All the Vaishnava acharyas in these schools have written commentaries on the Vedanta Sutra, but the Mayavadi philosophers do not recognize them. The Mayavadis distinguish between Krishna and Krishna's body, and therefore they do not recognize the worship of Krishna by the Vaishnava philosophers. Thus, when the Mayavadi sannyasis asked Lord Chaitanya why he did not study the Vedanta Sutra, the Lord replied, "Dear sirs, you have asked why I do not study the Vedanta, and in answer to this, I could speak something, but I'm afraid you would be sorry to hear it." All the Mayavadi sannyasis replied, "We shall be very much pleased to hear you, because we see that you are just like Narayana, and your speeches are so nice that we are taking great pleasure in them. We are very much obliged to see and hear you. Therefore, we shall be very glad to hear patiently and accept whatever you say." The Lord then began to speak on Vedanta philosophy as follows. The Vedanta Sutra is spoken by the Supreme Lord himself. The Supreme Lord, in his incarnation as Vyasadeva, has compiled this great philosophical treatise. Since Vyasadeva is an incarnation of the Supreme Lord, he cannot be likened to an ordinary person who has four defects. Who has four defects. The defects of a conditioned soul are: one, he must commit mistakes; two, he must be illusioned; three, he must possess the tendency to cheat others; and four, all his senses must be imperfect. We must understand that the incarnation of God is transcendental to all these defects. Thus, whatever has been spoken and written by Vyasadeva is considered to be perfect. The Upanishads and Vedanta Sutra aim at the same goal, the supreme absolute truth. When we accept the direct import of the Vedanta Sutra and Upanishads, that is glorious. But the commentaries made by Sankaracharya are indirect and are thus very dangerous for the common man to read. For by understanding the import of the Upanishads in such an indirect, disruptive way, one practically bars himself from the spiritual realization. When we accept the direct import of the Vedanta Sutra and Upanishads, that is glorious. But the commentaries made by Sankaracharya are indirect and are thus very dangerous for the common man to read. For by understanding the import of the Upanishads in such an indirect, disruptive way, one practically bars himself from spiritual realization. According to the Skanda and Vayu Puranas, the word sutra refers to a condensed work which carries meaning and import of immeasurable strength without any mistake or fault. The word Vedanta means the end of Vedic knowledge. In other words, any book which deals with the subject matter indicated in all the Vedas is called Vedanta. For example, the Bhagavad Gita is Vedanta because in the Bhagavad Gita the Lord says that the ultimate goal of all Vedic research is Krishna. Thus, one should understand that the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, which aim only at Krishna, are Vedanta. In transcendental realization, there are three divisions of knowledge called Prasthana Traya. The department of knowledge which is proved by Vedic instruction, like the Upanishads, is called Shruti Prasthana. Authoritative books indicating the ultimate goal and written by liberated souls like Vyasadeva, for example, the Bhagavad Gita, the Mahabharata, and Puranas, especially Srimad Bhagavatam and the Mahapurana, are called Smriti Prasthana. From the Vedic literature, we understand that the Vedas originated from the breathing of Narayana. Vyasadeva, who is an incarnation of the power of Narayana, compiled the Vedanta Sutra, Nyaya Prasthana. But according to Sankaracharya's commentaries, Apantaratma Rishi is also sometimes credited with having compiled the aphorisms of the Vedanta Sutra. According to Lord Chaitanya, the conclusions of the verses of Pancharatra and the aphorisms of the Vedanta are one and the same. Since the Vedanta Sutra is compiled by Vyasadeva, it should be understood. Jai Shri Radha Nilamadhava Ki Jai. It should be according to Lord Chaitanya, the conclusions of the verses of the Pancharatra and the aphorisms of Vedanta are one and the same. Since the Vedanta Sutra is compiled by Vyasadeva, it should be understood to be spoken by Narayana himself. From all the descriptive literature dealing with the Vedanta Sutra, it appears that there were many other rishis contemporary with Vyasadeva who also discussed the Vedanta Sutra. These sages were Atreya, Asmaratya, Odulomi, and Karsnajini, Kasak Kritasna, Jaimini, and Badari, while other sages such as Parasari and Karmandi discussed the Vedanta before Vyasadeva. In the first two chapters of the Vedanta Sutra, the relationship between the living entities and the Supreme Lord is explained. And in the third chapter, the discharge of devotional service is explained. The fourth chapter deals with the result of discharged devotional service. The natural commentary on the Vedanta Sutra is Srimad Bhagavatam. The great acharyas of the four Vaishnava communities, or sampradayas, namely Ramanujacharya, Madhavacharya, Vishnuswami, and Nimbarka, have also written commentaries on the Vedanta Sutra by following the principles of Srimad Bhagavatam. The followers of these acharyas down to the present day have written many books following the principles of Srimad Bhagavatam and accepting it as the natural commentary on the Vedanta. Sankara's commentary on the Vedanta Sutra, known as the Sarirakbhashya, is very much adored by the impersonalist scholars, but such materialistic commentaries are completely adverse to the transcendental service of the Lord. Consequently, Lord Chaitanya said that direct commentaries on the Upanishads and Vedanta Sutra are glorious, but that anyone who follows the indirect path of Sankaracharya's Sarirakbhasya is certainly doomed. Lord Chaitanya admitted that Sankaracharya was an incarnation of Lord Shiva, and it is known that Lord Shiva is one of the greatest devotees, a Mahajana of the Bhagavata school. There are 12 Mahajanas, great authorities on devotional service, and Lord Shiva is one of them. Why then did he adopt the process of Mayavada philosophy? Very important question. The answer is given in the Shiva Purana, where the Supreme Lord tells Shiva, Dra parado yoge bhutva kalaya manu sadisu swagamai kalpitasya tvam cha janam mad vimukhan kuru. In the beginning of the Kali Yuga, by my order, bewilder the people in general with Mayavad philosophy. So, Lord Krishna told Lord Shiva, you gotta bewilder people in Kali Yuga. I'm ordering you to do it. In the Padma Purana, Lord Shiva tells his wife, Bhagavati Devi, the Mayavadi philosophy is veiled Buddhism. In other words, the Voidist philosophy of Buddha is more or less repeated in the Mayavada philosophy of impersonalism. Although the Mayavadi philosophers claim to be directed by the Vedic conclusions, as a Brahmana boy, I manufacture this philosophy in the age of Kali to mislead the atheists. Actually, the Supreme Personality of Godhead has his transcendental body, but I describe the Supreme as impersonal. I also explain the Vedanta Sutra according to the same principles of Mayavada philosophy. Lord Shiva continues speaking to Bhagavati Devi as follows. My dear Devi, sometimes I teach Mayavada philosophy for those who are engrossed in the mode of ignorance. But anyone in the mode of goodness who happens to hear this Mayavada philosophy falls down. For when I teach Mayavada philosophy, I say that the living entity and the Supreme Lord are one and the same. So that's wrong. Right? Sananda Yogendra, one of the greatest Mayavadi acharyas, has written in his book Vedanta Sara, the absolute truth of eternity, knowledge and bliss is Brahman. Ignorance and all products of ignorance are non-Brahman. All products of three modes of material nature are covered by ignorance, and all are different from the supreme cause and effect. This ignorance is manifested in a collective and individual sense. Collective ignorance is called Visuddha Sattva Pradhana. When this Visuddha Sattva Pradhana is manifested within the ignorance of material nature, it is called the Lord. And the Lord manifests all kinds of ignorance. Therefore, he is known as Sarvajna. Thus, according to Mayavada philosophy, the Lord is a product of this material nature, and the living entity is in the lowest stage of ignorance. That is the sum and substance of Mayavada philosophy. Now, all this is nonsense. It's not true. If, however, we accept the import of the Upanishads directly, it is clear that the Supreme Personality Godhead is a person with unlimited potency. For example, in the Sritasvatara Upanishad, it is stated, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the origin of everything, and he has multiple potencies. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is transcendental to the cosmic manifestation. He is the origin of all religion, the supreme deliverer, and the possessor of all opulences. I understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead to be just like the sun, profusely distributing his energies while situated beyond the cloud of this material cosmic manifestation. He is the master of masters, and he is the supreme of supremes. He is known as the greatest Lord, the personality of Godhead. His multiple potencies are variously distributed. Also, the Rig Veda 1.22.20 states that Vishnu is the supreme and that saintly persons are always anxious to see his lotus feet. And in the Aitreya Upanishad, it is stated that the cosmic manifestation came about when the Lord glanced over the material nature. This is confirmed by the Prasna Upanishad. The negative descriptions of the Lord which occur in the Vedic literature, such as Apani Pada, the Lord has no hands or feet, indicate that the Lord has no material body and no material form, but he does have his spiritual transcendental body and his transcendental form. Because the Mayavadi philosophers misunderstand his transcendental nature, they explain him as impersonal. The Lord's name, form, qualities, entourage, and abode are all in the transcendental world. How can he be a transformation of this material world? Everything connected with the Supreme Lord is eternal, blissful, and full of knowledge. In effect, Sankaracharya preached Mayavad philosophy to bewilder a certain type of atheists. Actually, he never considered the Supreme Lord, the personality of Godhead, to be impersonal, without body or form. It is best for intelligent persons to avoid lectures on Mayavad philosophy. We should understand that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu, is not impersonal. He is a transcendental person, and the basic principle of the cosmic manifestation is his energy. Mayavada philosophy cannot trace the energy of the Supreme Lord back to its source, but all Vedic literatures give evidence of the Supreme Lord's various energetic manifestations. Vishnu is not a product of material nature, but material nature is a product of Vishnu's potency. The Mayavadi philosophers understand Vishnu to be a product of material nature. But if Vishnu is a product of material nature, he can only be counted among the demigods. One who considers Vishnu to be a demigod is certainly mistaken and misled. How this is so is explained in Bhagavad Gita. Deluded by the three modes of material nature, the whole world does not know me, who am above the material nature and inexhaustible. My material nature is so powerful that it is very difficult to surpass its spell, even for the greatest scholar. But those who have surrendered unto me can easily cross beyond it. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Are there any questions or comments about what we just read? Yeah.
So I never knew that Lord Shankar was instructed by Krishna himself to teach this Mayavadi philosophy to bewilder some section of Kali Yoga. That was very
Yeah.
new for me.
Well, you see, there are different slokes for different folks. So, yeah, the Lord can sometimes mislead people, right? Because they're nonsense, right? So he doesn't want them to understand the pure Krishna consciousness knowledge because they will always make a mess of it. So it gives them a chance to make mistakes.
So, Maharaj, like, is that like good for those people? So, like, if like Lord wants to confuse that section of people who are like atheistic and in mode of ignorance. So, like, if they are getting into this Mayavad philosophy, it is good. It is like somewhat good for them.
Well, it's not good for them, but it's good for the devotees because they don't have to deal with them. They have their philosophy, and we have our philosophy. But eventually, their philosophy breaks down. But what we're learning from the Vaishnava Acharyas is eternal. So their philosophy will break down over time. And they'll get frustrated. They'll be confused. You know. But the devotees who are serious to be Krishna conscious and follow the Vaishnava Acharyas, they never get confused, they never get angry, because they know that they are on the correct path to go back to Godhead. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He can do anything he wants. We have to be careful. Always to be surrendered to the Lord and not do any hanky-panky nonsense. Right? That way the Lord will protect us. But if we become nonsense ourselves, then the Lord will put us in a state of illusion and will become stuck in the cycle of birth and death. We have to be very, very careful. Always strictly follow the Vaishnava Acharyas, especially Srila Prabhupada, and not deviate at all, and not to make our own philosophy. We don't need any more philosophy. We got plenty of philosophy. We should simply surrender to Krishna and the Vaishnava Acharyas and live a simple life of pure devotional service. That should be our goal. And we can do that now. It's easier now than previous time. It's easier now because we have all this information. All we have to do is hear very carefully and then follow humbly the chanting of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. And we'll never have a problem. Why? Because the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra is not from this material world. Therefore, it's not something made by materialistic people. It came down from the spiritual world. It's completely spiritual. It cannot be corrupted. Although there are Mayavadis who might try and chant some mantras that look like the Hare Krishna mantras, but they are all bogus. We should always chant purely without any material desire. That's very important. If we use the mantra, the Hare Krishna mantra, for material desires, that's very bad. But if we simply chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra to glorify Lord Krishna, that's wonderful. And we won't have any problems. So we don't have to pray for anything. We simply chant purely the Hare Krishna mantra. Krishna will do the rest. Okay, I think we'll stop right there and start again tomorrow. Haribol. All glories to Prabhupada. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Okay. has to be here. Yeah.
Thank you.
Haribol. Hare Krishna. Jai Shri Krishna Bhagavan.